football training, what to expect right after the pandemic. I'm Bob Davis with Strength of America and Lincoln Prep Strength Coach. For our Lincoln Prep family, I want to show you kind of the process of what we're doing. If you're not in our area and your kids are going to be getting back into sport, definitely take a look at the list and what we've got coming up to do and find out why your program isn't doing it. All right, first thing we're going to do, these first 3 weeks that we're starting, we're just doing body weight training. We realize a lot of the athletes for the last eight weeks, at least 8 to 10 weeks, haven't physically done anything like they used to going into it. So I know there's already going to be a greater risk for injury coming into it. So even though we typically start off, we test their 40, their times, their vertical. Last thing I want to do is have somebody pull a hamstring getting tested on a 40-yard to see where we're at. We already know we're not at our best right now. So we're going to wait a couple of weeks, start adapting, getting the bodies prepared, and either week 3 or 4, we'll then test them. Right now, it'll be a lot of skills on breaking down the basics, warm-ups. Let's see how we're doing them correctly. Are you doing your high knees correctly? What your arm swing needs to be for your speed mechanics. How you're jumping and landing. We do the ACL testing protocol on all the kids to see who's predisposed to some knee problems. I can tell you after night 1, we saw quite a few of the kids when they jumped and went through it where the knees were rolling inside or they were landing straight-legged or shooting the knees forward. We've got mobility issues in the feet. So when we do heel walks, I'm looking to see that the feet are straight. They're not rolled to the outside or we're not walking on the outside of the heel. So we get steady mechanics. We know our hips are functioning properly, mobility we need to do, and then they'll have homework what they need to follow up as well based on the first couple of days on how they move and what they're doing. And I'll make sure I send that information home. They'll know what they need to do. After the first 2 to 3 weeks, we're only working out an hour initially for these first 3 weeks, 4 days a week. We've got to build the stamina to get ready to go. Expect the body to keep up with things. We need to get some basic steady things to go into it. They had showed up for me. Most of the kids did show up day 1 with a fuel chart. The rest of them haven't filled out and they'll have it in the second day. But that fuel chart, and if you're not in our area and you want it, I'll have a link for it so you can get that. But for one day to fill out everything they eat and drink, then I take a look at that, and by Thursday this week, they'll have it back with notes on it on what they need to improve on. I wanted to see how much sleep they got the night before. Make sure it's at least 8 to 10 hours. I wanted to see, did they hydrate enough? Which hydrate enough is half their body weight in ounces of water. And I don't count water they're drinking during workout and practice time. It's leading up to that point. They want to see it and afterwards. Fuel, we want to see protein. Are they eating 4 to 5 to 6 times a day? My high school athletes, I want them eating 6 times a day. They've got to put some meat on them. We want some good muscle there. We also want to make sure they're able to handle the stress of what they'll be doing with me and leading up to football season to get ready to go. It'll help them adapt to the heat when we start transitioning to outside training. Their meals, I want them to get a protein in every one of those meals. And yes, they can have a protein shake, it's fine. I don't want 4 protein shakes. You want 1 in there or 2 to get the 6 meals, that's fine. But take a look at what they're doing. The label on that protein shake, some of them are 40, 50 grams each. Most of these kids need anywhere from 25 to 30 grams of protein for our high school kids in each meal. So they can take that 50 grams of protein, cut it in half, you add milk to it, now you've got your 30 grams of protein. And you don't end up the rest of it. I told them, if you just eat 3 times a day and get your total grams of protein in, it's not steady enough. So half of that ends up getting flushed through your system and into the toilet, and you've wasted your money. So split the meals, have more often. It's going to help their energy level. I know all the kids are going to work hard for me this summer, but if their top level of work is here, because they're not getting enough rest, they're not hydrating and eating right, there's only so much better they'll get. If they're at that full, everything's fully charged the way it needs to be, that 100% will show in better gains, better strength gains, speed, power, reducing the chance of injury as well. So that's the key things we're looking for in the first 3 weeks. Then we're going to transition our next phase, which is our full 7-week summer conditioning program. 4 days a week, 90 minutes each time. Half of that will be weight room time. We'll split the body in half for our strength power movements. The other half of that time will be devoted to our speed, agility, quickness drills, our power training, jumping, plyometrics, landing, box jumps, those type of things we're doing, med balls, sleds, pulling in for power. We're also going to adapt and add into it some pure stamina, conditioning, getting them to uncomfortable zones and learning how to work through that to get better. But while they're still focused on mechanics, mechanics are key in everything we do. Like I told them, they may not see a lot of fancy drills over this summer, but we're going to go strong after the foundation. So that body is durable. It can move right, know how to land, change, pivot, explode, become quicker. But their body's going to be much safer as we get ready for that season. So they'll lead into the weight training part. That'll progress as well. Then by the end of our full 10 weeks now, we start football season. So by the fourth week, typically we're going to be outside. We may a little in the third week, fourth, fifth week outside, but we've got a shaded area we're going to be out because again, in Arizona, we're going to have typically about 110-degree heat. But when they start practice, it's going to be the same after school. So we've got to adapt and get ready. After a couple of weeks of that, our last 3 weeks, we will be out on the field during that time. No shade. So they're fully ready to go. So they will understand the fuel chart will be filled out weekly for a while until I know they're confident and I'm confident they're eating the way they need to. And we'll see how they adapt in there. Typically, what I'll see over that four-day progress is they get better, the intensity picks up, they're doing great, they're eating right. But by Monday, we start seeing problems again. And it's not because they got out of shape on 3 days off. It's they started sleeping into 11 or 12, only getting 2 or 3 meals in a day, not hydrating, drinking soda. And Monday rolls around, they're not prepared. So our workouts don't adjust and go lighter on Monday because of that. I expect them to do their part. It's personal responsibility. So they eat, they hydrate, they're ready to go. They'll be set for me on Monday. Yes, we always adjust if somebody's got something nagging or there's a pain. I always tell my athletes, I don't want them to tell me, my knee's hurting, it's been bugging me for 2 weeks. I want to know that day. If something's bothering you, then I can make the adjustments we need to. If you're not in our area, or even if you are parents, the email down here I've got for you, just go ahead and click on that. You can email me questions or comment on the video is fine. If you're not in our area and you've got questions or you're trying to outline a program to get ready to keep your kids safe after this quarantine time so that they can be prepared, powerful, ready to go on the start of their season, please holler out to me. Glad to help. Anything Bobby and I can do, we'll do that for you. But I'm excited for it. We're excited to be back to help the Lincoln Prep football team now through the football season. And whatever I can do to help or questions, please don't wait, just like the athletes. I don't want to hear you having a problem with something that happened a month ago. Let me know right away. We'll work through it or explain something because maybe it's not going home the same way as I'm telling the kids. That's what this video is for. Kind of give you a background on the fuel and what we need to do, what's expected of these kids so that they can keep up with it. Protein, I want to add one more thing to it. I've told our kids I want them to have 80 to 100% of their body weight in grams of protein. So if they weigh 100 pounds, they're doing 80 to 100 grams a day. If they're a 200-pound athlete, that's 160 to 200 grams a day. So our high school athlete typically, depending on what their body weight is and where they're at, is going to be right at 25 to 30 grams each time. If they're doing 6 meals a day, now we're covering about 180 grams. So my bigger guys, they do that. My smaller ones, 100-pound athletes, are only doing 20 grams at each meal. So you adjust accordingly based on your weight, where you're at. And we'll adapt to things. So let's get ready for football. I'm excited to be a part of it. Please reach out, questions anytime. My athletes, parents, coaches, whether you live with me in our area and you're in our program, or just out there wanting to make sure the kids are safe and ready to go and be powerful and have a great time on the field, not on the bench because they're hurt. All right, thanks for being a part of it, and we're going to see you again real soon.